Since I've started being a lot more active with my streaming and my uploading lately, the most common comment that I seem to keep getting is, what are your custom tactics, or can you make another custom tactics video? Now, I made one of these in FIFA 17, it went down pretty well. I actually think it's my most viewed video, so I've decided to do it again. In this video I'm going to show you the custom tactics that I use and my theory behind it, as well as this. Due to the fact that I've played FIFA for so long, I've actually played since the game told you what the custom tactics all meant. I'm going to explain to you exactly how they work and what the numbers actually do. As well as this, I'm going to also show you the best instructions for the three most commonly used formations in FIFA 18. So, let's get straight into it. Custom tactics first then. Now, my theory or my belief when it comes to custom tactics is that the closer you stay to 50, the more balanced and natural your team will feel. Obviously, everyone's going to want to have their own numbers. Everyone's going to want to choose their own numbers to suit their play style. But I believe that the closer you stay to 50, the more likely you are of finding something that works really well. Having said that, this is obviously a great place to start. Now, speed. Now, this is just simply how fast your team moves up the pitch. When you're attacking, how fast your players will move forward. So the lowest you want to have this on is 50. Any lower than that, and you really are going to struggle to attack unless you want to do some serious time waste. If you are, maybe tone it down a bit. But in general, you don't want that any lower than 50. And as high as you can go, I'd say you don't really go any higher than 65, maybe 70 at a push, but 65 I'd say should be the limit. Personally, I have mine at 60. I obviously want to attack a little bit fast, but not so fast that my attack is going to feel unbalanced. Passing. Now, passing in build-up play, this is basically the distance that your players will run to receive a pass. So if you put this low, they'll come to feet more. They'll come, to towards the player, like the player in possession of the ball. You move it higher, and your players are going to make long runs for long balls and stand further away than the man in possession. So I have mine on 50 because I've never been able to work this one out really. Last year I had it on 40 or 45 because I wanted balls played into feet more. I like to pass it around a little bit, but I think you're best off just leaving this one on 50. I wouldn't advise going any lower than 40 or any higher than 60. So I have mine on 50 because I like to do a mix really of short passes and long passes. Positioning on build-up play. This is just simply the type of moves that, and the type of positioning, I mean, it's called position, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? That your team is going to take up on organised. They're all going to stay in position. The left back's going to stay relatively in the left back area, centre back in the centre back area, etc., etc. Midfielders aren't going to get too mixed around. If you have this on free form, you'll have your players switching positions, which obviously is going to cause you some problems if you ever do lose possession. So I don't think I've ever seen anyone really with any success use free form for build-up play. So organised is the one you want. It keeps things simple, and you don't need to be doing unorthodox things when you're only, doing your build-up play. Into chance creation. Now, passing, this is quite simple, this one. This is just how much risk your players take when making runs into the final third. Now, for this, it's another one. You don't want to be going any lower than 50, but you don't want to be going any higher than 65, I'd say, at a push. Personally, I've always had mine on 50 because I just think 50, you're just leaving it in the hands of the game to decide when it's right and wrong and how much risk to take. I know I could be a bit more decisive, but I think with 50, maybe 55, you can't go far wrong. If you start going to 65 and plus, you're going to be taking too much risk. You're going to get caught out of position every time you lose the ball, you're going to be looking at getting counter-attacked. So if I was you, I'd leave this on about 55, although I do usually have mine on 50. Crossing, this is just simply how much your players are going to get into the box when you've got the ball in wide positions, whereabouts they're going to stand. If they're going to go stand on the edge of the box, if you have it on a low value, they're obviously not going to run into the box. They're going to stand on the edge and wait for you to pass it inside. If you have it on a high value, they're going to stack the box. For someone at the front post, someone in the middle, someone at the back post. I personally have mine on 40. Because obviously I don't really like crossing. I think crossing's been dead since, I think it was FIFA 14, the one where Everyone just crossed it. Ronaldo and Mandzukic might have been 15. I think it was 14. But anyway, yeah, crossing. It's a bit better this year, but 40 is the one. You're still going to have someone in the box, but this also having 40, it helps you not get counted because you don't want to overdo it. But I think it's another one. The lowest you want to be going is 40, and the highest you want to be going is 60. It's another one, just 10 either way, 15, depending how you feel. But personally, I would go for 40. Now, shooting, this is the one where it causes a lot of confusion, because you think to yourself, how can a custom tactic determine how much you have a shot? Obviously, I have a shot as often as I press circle or B. That is true, but it's about the positions that your players stand in to take a shot. Now, for this one, if you put a low value, the lower the value you put, the more narrow your players will stand, and that closer to goal will try and stand. Now, that sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds like they're going to try and take up positions where it's impossible to miss, but it makes it a lot harder to get the ball and a lot harder to attack, I find. The minimum you want to be setting for this is 40. Now, if you watch my custom tactics video last year, you'll know that I used 40 for a lot of the year, and it did work well. But when people are stacked in the middle and people are sitting back on 4-2-3-1, which is obviously a really common formation, it is a little bit hard to attack. So this year I go for the higher value of 65. Now, with the higher values for shooting, your players you'll have more players in shooting positions, and you'll also have them standing wide of the goal, on the edge of the box. The ones they'll stand, basically everyone will just be in maybe more difficult positions to shoot and score, but you'll have plenty more options if you set it higher. Now, chance creation, positioning. Now, this is a difficult one. For the last maybe 3 or 4 FIFAs, I've always went for organised, because I think just keep things simple, have your players in the right positions. You're never going to get someone you're never going to pass it into your striker and it be your midfielder and you think, oh, what's he doing there? Like, what's going on? I want that to be my striker. But at the same time, it does become a little bit predictable. So on this FIFA, I've actually settled for freeform. Now, freeform, it's pretty similar to the build-up play. With freeform, you'll get your midfielders making runs past your strikers. You'll get your wingers coming inside and replacing your centre mids, etc., etc. You'll get your cam, flying past your strikers. Your CDM coming forward at times. It can be better for attacking, but it's also one of them. It's a bit like build-up play. It can get you counter-attacked pretty much a lot of the time. So I've switched between the two quite a lot this year, but I have settled on freeform just because at the end of the day, goals win games. Defence then. Now, this is another one. If you watched my video last year, I played on high pressure. I had on 60 or 65 all throughout last year. In FIFA 16 and 15, I had it on 75. I've always liked to be a high pressing player, but this year I think that's died out a little bit. Now, for this number, you don't want to be setting this any lower than 40, where it's obviously good to have men behind the ball. If you set it any lower than this, you are going to find it hard. You are going to find it hard to attack, and I think you do need to have your line so far up the pitch to give yourself a chance of winning the ball back and actually scoring a goal. The highest you want to have this on in this game, I'd say 65, but even that is pushing it. I'd say probably 60. It's one of them. Pressing has died a little bit this year. They reduced the AI assistance a little bit. Last year you could just chase the ball around high up the pitch and the game would pretty much defend for you. High pressing was really good last year, but it has died a little bit this year. So what I've done this year, I've just left it in the middle. I've gone for 50, the default value. I've left it on 50 this year and it's worked pretty well. It gives you a pretty good balance. Aggression next. Now, this is another one. It's kind of linked in with the pressure. I always believe this, though. It's better to have pressure on the ball, so you never really want to be taking this lower than 50, and the highest you want to be going with this is probably similar again, 65. Personally, I have it on 60 because I do like to press the ball, but not going to overdo it. I think if you put it on anything over 60, your players are going to run at the ball too much and you're going to get picked off. So I think 60 is the right value for this. Obviously, aggression is just your team's approach to pressing the ball, basically the AI, how it's going to determine how fast your players attack the opposition player in possession of the ball. Now, team width, this is just basically how narrow or wide that your team stands and the gaps in between your defenders. I've seen a lot of other players' videos and they seem to believe this has some sort of effect on your attacking. I mean, it may do because it may give you your team overall width, but the main idea behind it is the gaps in between your defenders and how much your defence shifts over to whichever side the ball is on. Now for this, 40 is a pretty good value. I mean, I personally have mine on 45 because I think 50, it's balanced, but it's just a little bit too open. They can slot the through balls on the side, and if you come up against a super team with a Hullet, the 94 Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, etc., you're going to get, if they've got players who can slot through good through balls, you're going to get picked off. So I'd go for 45. You never want to be taking this over 50, in my opinion. I think if you go anything over 50, you can get away with 50, but even that's a little bit open. But anything above 50, and you're just asking to get through balls. So if I was you, and my number is 45, just a little bit less than the default, but still enough balance to not make my team too narrow. Defender line, now cover is, obviously you must all know this by now, offside trap means your team will stand in a line. They won't be able to do them through balls. You know how everyone does the through ball down the wing where your centre back will come over and sort of like try and cover them. That's why it's called cover, yeah. Like your centre backs drop deeper than your full back, so where they can get a through ball down the wing, you will have someone covering, but you're very unlikely to catch them offside. Whereas in offside trap, your team stands in a line. It's harder for them to get the through ball through, but if they do get it through, you're unlikely to have a defender covering. So if I was you, I would all stick for cover. I know I was a big fan of offside trap this year, but it hasn't given me so much success this time around. So those are my numbers. Pretty balanced, I mean, what's the maximum I've got away from 50 is 15 there for shooting. And then, like I said at the start, that's what I would stick to. You don't want to be going too far away from 50. So try these for yourself, or try your own numbers, but just try the thing that I said. You don't want to be going too far away from the default values of 50. Now, into instructions now. Now, let me just find... Oh. Now, as you all know, as you probably know by looking at my videos, I play 4-4-2 in-game. I switch in-game. I have Lozano on the right, Hullet Vieira in the middle, Bale left striker, and Henry right striker. Now, I know I told you how my belief when it comes to custom tactics are that the closer you stick to the default, the more natural and balanced your team will feel. Well, I have a pretty similar theory when it comes to instructions. I believe that the more instructions you put on your players, the more unnatural and unbalanced your team will start to feel. In the same way that the more numbers you change far from 50 for your custom tactics, again, the more unnatural your team will start to feel. And this has worked pretty well for me. I've been doing this for a few FIFAs now. The less instructions, the better, but obviously there are a few necessary ones. So for the 4-4-2, the only instructions I put on, believe it or not, are I put on getting behind. I mean, getting behind with every formation you're going to play on FIFA. You're never going to get a formation where getting behind isn't a good instruction, isn't a necessary instruction. You're always in FIFA, and I can't imagine it ever changing. You're never going to find a FIFA where you don't need your players to be making runs in behind for the through balls. So I have getting behind on them. Some games I mess about with press back line. I do believe it's a myth. I used to think it's a myth. I'm sort of changing my mind now. I believed in the old days that everyone just used to do it because Gorilla used to do it, and obviously he's blown away all the competition for a few years now, so everyone was just copying exactly what he did. But I don't think it actually works that well. I'd say about 65% of my games I go for just getting behind and not press backline. But when it's not working, I do. Or when I'm behind, I sometimes do go and press the backline. I still haven't made a final decision with this, but if I was giving advice to any of you, I'd say you want to just go for getting behind and nothing else. And would you believe it, that's actually the only instructions I put on for 4-4-2. With the wide formations, I'd say that when you're playing a wide formation, or your 4-4-2, your 4-2-3-1, you want to be telling your fullbacks just to stay on balance, because you're going to be playing a lot of the wings, so you're going to need their help. When you're playing a balanced formation, you're going to want to tell your fullbacks to stay back. Now that was pretty simple, so I'm just going to go over a couple more of the most commonly used the two most commonly used formations in FIFA. First one is the 4-2-3-1. Now, for this one, you want to be telling you, another belief I have is that if you have any formation with CDMs, you want to tell your CDMs to stay back. Don't worry about the rubbish about the man mark or the cut passing lanes. You're just going to confuse things. Just simply tell your CDMs to stay back. Again, this is a wide formation, so you want to be just leaving your fullbacks unbalanced. Let them get forward to help the ram, the lamb and the cam. And again, you just want to have your striker on. Get in behind. Again, the less the instructions, the more balanced your game will feel. You don't want to be confusing yourself and making your team do unnatural things like the cam staying forward. It's just you want to have a more, like I keep saying this, a more balanced feel to the team. I mean, I see a lot of people tell all the cams to stay forward, but that's not for me. I think that it just doesn't feel right. But obviously everyone's different. I'm sure many of you might be commenting on this saying what you're on about. It's way better telling the cams to stay forward. But that's just how I feel. And the last formation, you'll probably be able to work this out, what custom tactics I'm going to go for here. So for this one, you want to be doing, if this one is obviously a narrow formation, so on this I would have the fullback staying back. I think it's a better idea. You'll be attacking more down the middle. You won't be doing as much wing play, so you're best off just having these stay as a solid back four. In front of these, you're going to want to have Vieira, your CDM, just to stay back while attacking. No other instructions needed. Default for the two CMs. Now, obviously for the two strikers, as usual, you want to get in behind or press backline. Like I said earlier, I can't really decide between the two. And the cam is an interesting one. A lot of the people who seem to be having the most success with the diamond I'd say a decent amount of them do seem to be telling the cam to stay forward, but it's another thing for me. I don't think it feels as natural. I don't like having the three just stood together up front. I know it's good for counter-attacking, but it's also harder for defending. I think your cam is, a lot of the time, going to stay forward in a more natural position anyway. So if I was you, and personally when I use a diamond, I leave it on just basic defence support, which means he's going to come back at times, but he's also going to stay forward on times, depending on the game situation. Now that's pretty much it. Those are the three most commonly used formations. I can't think of another formation that most people use. I use the 4-4-2, which isn't that common, but I mean everyone else, I'd say about 90% of other weekend league players, all use the diamond or the 4-2-3-1. Anyway, that is the end of the video. If you've got any questions, if you want to let me know how these numbers work for you, if you've got anything to say at all, hit it at me in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. If you really liked it, turn on notifications, and I will see you all in a few days' time.